Off Script with Super E recommends listener discretion as these real but sometimes uncensored stories can be filled with mature content. Hello everybody, Jay here with another episode of Off Script with Super E. I'm not going to have a whole lot of introduction from me. A-Train, you got anything to say?
I'm just thrilled that we have a special guest that I haven't talked to in a long time. My third favorite guy. Bree and Jay. Yeah, Big Steve.
Big Steve. I think the best thing to do right here with this is Super E. Why don't you go ahead, do the introductions, and tell us a tale.
10-4, Big Steve, who we have on the show today, was my numero ace partner, and we had all kinds of fun, and we're still great pals even after we both retired. And I will let Big Steve just start out with what happened when he first went from East District Patrol to Vice Narcotics, and what it was like when he worked with A-Train for a little while, then some of the shenanigan investigations that we had.
I will have to say that it was my favorite time of my whole career was working in Vice Narcotics with all the various people that I work with. I mean, as a patrolman, I would see Super E out there running around, and I figured, well, fuck, if he can do it, anybody can.
Yeah. But you did it at such a much slower pace, but still somewhat effective.
Yeah.
Well, go ahead, Steve. Tell us what it was like when you first got into Vice Narcotics.
Well, it was pretty cool at first. I mean, I had no idea what I was doing, and I wasn't used to girls saying yes to me, having sex.
It was a learning curve, wasn't it?
Just because I gave them money.
Yeah.
Most of the time, I had to marry them.
but you knew they still loved you, even though you was getting them copious amounts of cash, right?
Oh yeah. Like one time, Super E and I went to one of our many jaunts to the strip bar, and Super E was mad because the girls were paying more attention to me than him, which was completely not in his world. That he could understand that. But then I had to tell him the reason they're doing that is because I'm giving them money. That's all that counts is money. And he just couldn't understand it. He would storm off to the restroom. And I can remember one time some guy came by and Super E goes, "Hey, your fly's down." And the guy looks at him and goes, "You wouldn't be looking if you weren't hungry." Was rendered totally speechless. And yes, during my Vice Narcotics years for East District, I did get a chance to work with A-Train.
Yes.
Yes. Or as the guys out in the street call them, teabag. Actually, he rode with me a couple of times, and I just, at first, just to get used to it. By that time, I was used to it, but to get used to it, I just would have him take his shirt off and go down to his underwear, and I would have him sit in the back and say that he was my little trained monkey that needed head too.
Is this a Dean Martin roast? Could somebody get Foster Brooks off the podium? Double S, tell them about when we had to go into that one low rent strip bar.
Yeah, it was like it was somebody's, granted 2-story, but somebody's house.
Yeah,
we just
exactly.
walked in and they just had a bunch of couches. In the bathroom they had like the guest towels and the good soap. But we were sitting there, and we were there. We went there because South District asked us to go in there. We weren't in there 5 maybe 5 minutes, and some girl came up and wanted to know if I wanted Xanax. I'm like, oh, how easy can this be? But we didn't do anything to her because she was halfway good looking. So anyway, um, one time I went there and all the electricity cut off. And it was like no big deal. They just walked around and still took off their clothes for everybody, and we had to hum, catchy tunes. They had a guy doing the beatbox.
Oh, Double S. We told the story about where I had to deal with Summer, the prostitute, when I was chasing her in the snow and all that. And we were sitting in the car. But
Super E forgot to tell you is that she ran up onto a porch and was knocking on the door. And when he went to arrest her, she avoided arrest by swinging a child's plastic tractor at him.
no, we included that. Of course, that was.
Her feet were black because it was like 6 or 7 degrees below zero, and she was running through the snow, and there was still standing water from all the salt. Her feet were black when she's dead now. So
I think it's frostbite. Yeah.
yeah, yes, yeah, exactly.
Double S. Remember how our standards were when we were picking up a suspected prostitute? That one girl approached our car, and we said, "Hey, you need a ride?" And all she did was sit there and tell us how her life was horrible. She was bipolar. She was wanting to kill people. And what was our response to her?
Hop in. I can remember you one time up on 16th Street. We got a girl into the back of, I think we were driving the Caprice at that time, and I was supposed to be the lookout. I said, "Oh, I'll look out," while Super E tried to get a prop, and he couldn't get the prop, but she was pawing at him. And I felt like I was watching two 14-year-old kids go at it, and the guy wasn't really sure what he was supposed to do with his wiener, and so he was.
Oh, I remember some things too. But before I get to that, tell Steve about when you used to have your doing the dozens with the old fat Smitty or Big Smitty, God rest his soul. When you guys used to argue about who was the biggest.
Okay, yeah. For a while, I was on day shift narcotics, and Smitty was huge, but he was about 5 or 6 inches at least shorter than me, and he always said that proportion-wise, we're about the same. And so I told him one day, come in there. I go, okay, here's what I did. I took a picture of me and a picture of you into a friend of mine who's a forensic pathologist, and asked him how much you would weigh if you were my height. He goes, "Well, what did he say?" I go, "Okay, keep in mind I weigh about, at that time, 275. I said, he said you would weigh about 740 pounds.
Tell me about when you gave him the final burn down about how you could prove that he was the fattest by if you both committed a crime and what the description would be from the police broadcast.
A tall, heavy-set white guy with a shorter, much heavier African-American male. Out on break, and so we had this planned, and I said, "Hey, Super E, Big Spinny wants to know how he gets to 465 from here." And Super E goes, "Well, he has to lose about 100 pounds.
For reference for our listeners, 465 is the interstate loop that goes around our town. There you go.
Yeah.
Keep going.
Oh, wait a second. Do you actually have listeners?
Well, my mom.
Well, we used to. So we've got like 2 minutes left. So yeah, we got 2 minutes left, guys. Keep going.
Oh, well, I've got one story. You can edit this out, or Double S. Do you want me to tell it, or you want me to edit it?
About what?
Hazel, the greatest story ever.
Why don't we do that in another segment?
Okay.
Yeah. Because no matter what Super E says, I always have an ace in the hole. Always.
Oh my God.
All right. Well, so it's been a good run, guys. This is probably it. This is going to be our last show. We're going to get Anchor is going to pull the plug on us.
What? This is great.
So, real quick to close out this fantastic segment, Steve, you got anything to close us out with?
No, not really. I want everybody to go vote. Oh, wait a minute. We already voted. So, remember, if you don't vote, you can't bitch about shit.
That's true. That's true.
Right on. Well, A-Train?
No, I'm just trying to catch my breath.
Yeah.
Thank you guys for having me on. Long-time listener, first-time caller. So,
Oh, yes. There it is. There it is. All right. Well, let's hope that was not our last episode. But we'll just wait and see. Big Steve, will you stay around for another tale with us?
you mean today, right now?
Right now.
You got time?
All right, cool. Yeah.
Don't touch that dial. Here's more from Big Steve.
What do you think? Why don't you go ahead and tell us a tale and let Big Steve help you with that?
Well, let's see. See, me and Big Steve started working together. What was it, about 1998?
Yeah, probably.
And then me and Steve, we were working narcotics, and then I think it was in 2002. Me and Big Steve started working. We started working the streets together. We're picking up prostitutes, and every night we were just going out.
What the hell?
Super E.
Sometimes the words don't come real fast for Super.
I'm starting
Did I
to
lose
figure
you
that
guys?
out.
Okay.
Did I lose you guys?
Yep.
Yeah, that's all right. I'll cut it out.
But anyways, so Steve's in front, or Double S is in front of me. And I said, "Hey, what about that blonde chick there?" And he goes, "I don't think she's working." I said, "Well, let me give her a try." He's like, "All right." I pull up in front of what I thought was a blonde female. It was a dude with unbelievably nice blonde hair about down to his waist, but it was a dude, and he was wearing a t-shirt, sweatpants, and 70s gym trunks pulled over the sweatpants. And he gets in the car, and he's like 62 years old. And I asked him what he's out doing. He goes, well, he needs to make money because he's a heroin addict. And he would give me head for $10. This is going to be an arrest. So we end up locking the guy up. And then we start lecturing the guy about, being on heroin and all this. And the guy goes, well, I've been doing heroin for 40 years. I was a football coach on heroin, and I raised a family on heroin. Heroin has not negatively affected my life. And then Double S, in his ultimate burn down snarkiness, advised the guy, go ahead, Double.
I said, well, let me see here. You're 62 years old. You're out here. You barely have any teeth, and you're giving guys head for $10. I think that you pretty much have hit bottom as far as the heroin usage is concerned.
And the guy he didn't know what to say, and then Steve just slowly walked off in self-satisfaction. Another victim of his burn downs.
I dropped my radio like a microphone. I said, I'm out of here.
So, Big Steve, would you say that his bottom was as bad as A-Train's drinking bottom when he got the thumb in his ass?
Oh, you too, Jay? Oh, my God. And I did not get a thumb in the ass. He simply threatened to do that. And
But why did your back arch automatically?
And after he threatened me, he said, and there's nothing you're going to be able to do about it.
And then you said, there's nothing I will do about it.
Oh, Jay, you betrayed me.
I'm sorry, buddy.
A-Train
So-
said, "Bring it on, you bald bitch." Well,
Yeah. Were you there? Yeah.
Hey, so Super E, why don't you, if we could get Big Steve's perspective on a couple of past episodes that I know he was involved with when you made an arrest, such as, the handicapped gal that you saw rolling down the road. Bringing any memories there?
yeah, if it wasn't for Double S and his gigantic strength and heft, we wouldn't have been able to get her up. Remember Double S, the Ironside chick rolling down the road that was prostituting?
Yes. And Super E goes, "I'd go try her." I go, "She's in a wheelchair." No. And he goes, "I'm still going to try her." So he pulls over. He opens up the door. She wheels over there. She struggles to get herself in, much like Super E's mom struggling to get off the toilet. But once she gets in, it's like 30 seconds, and he has the prop. So we're not going to take her to jail. So we give her a ticket, and then we have to take her up to her apartment, and her apartment is up a flight of stairs. And I said, "Well, why doesn't your landlord put a ramp in?" She's like, "Oh, fuck him, man." I mean, I still don't know how she got, unless she really wasn't handicapped. But she didn't. She didn't seem to mind, and she was screaming as we were not screaming, but she was as we go up each stair, because we were pulling her up and pushing her up the stairs, and she thanked Super E for not taking her to jail, but giving her a ticket, and then made out with him for a little bit. But other than that,
Double S, what was one of your ugliest prostitutes you lock up? Does anybody stick out in your mind?
oh yeah, I forget what his. It was a dude. His name was Robert, something like that. Anyways, he gets into my car, and I could smell, and he's got like a dress on, but he's got like several days worth of beard there. And he looks at me, goes, buy a girl a beer. And and I was like looking around going, okay, I don't see any girls around here. No, I didn't say that. I said, why don't we just go ahead and do what I picked you up to do, and then you can use the money I'm going to give you. And he's like, okay. And goes, what do you want? We get the prop and everything. He goes to jail. And he goes to jail several times. So we get him in court on like December 23rd. And he gets found guilty of all of them. He pleads guilty to like 2 of them, but there were like 4 more. And the defense attorney goes, well, could you please have so-and-so, I forget what his name was, could you start a sentence after the holiday season? And the judge was like, well, yeah, sure, I guess. I don't care. And so he was going to start his sentence after the holiday season. We go out that night, and we're driving around, and there he is. So I'm like, okay, there's no fucking way that he's going to. So he gets in the car and says the exact same thing. Buy a girl a beer. And I say the exact same thing. I said, well, why don't we go ahead and do what I picked you up to do, and then you can use that money to buy beer. He goes, okay, we get the prop. I'm like, I cannot believe that I go, not only have I arrested you before, but this morning we had court on you.
That's why they call it dope.
Yep. And so a little bit later on, he had to do his time. He gets out, and then he goes to jail for a C felony. He was going to give blood. He gave blood several times, and they found out that he was HIV positive. So that's how he got really actually going to jail. Because
Double S.
yeah.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but I just remembered. Tell A Train and Jay, because I told them about it, but tell them about the deaf girl that
Okay.
you got.
Okay. So, there's a deaf girl, and the first time I drove past her, I honked, and they told me she's deaf. So the first time I go, I honked the horn at her, and she didn't even turn around. And they go, okay, you idiot, she's deaf. I said, oh, yeah, okay. So I turn around and pick her up. I write everything down, which, is on, the official department yellow pads. And
A train.
so she's like, okay, blah, blah, blah. So she goes to jail. She's furious with me. And we go to trial, and I had kept in my secure desk at work the note that she had written out. Anyways, the note. And so we get up there, and first of all, the defense attorney wants to see it. So I show him the note, and he goes, Your Honor, he goes, the chain of custody on this is unsure. I said, I've had it the whole time. He goes, Your Honor, I object. He just showed me it. And the judge is like, okay, you're an officer of the court. I think the chain of command is still, the chain of custody is still there.
Yes.
And so I put it down. I'm reading it off of it. All of a sudden, the deaf girl reaches over, snatches it, throws it in her mouth, and starts eating it. And everybody is just stunned in the court, including her interpreter. Oh, hold on. Including her interpreter. And so the judge goes, okay, well, we kind of get what went on. So, and then she got convicted of it. And of course, they give her, so and so. I know this is your 15th prostitution arrest, so we're gonna, we're gonna make you do 2 days. We'll suspend all of it, and you can't pay anything, so you don't have to pay any court costs.
Right.
Anyways. So that night, I'm rolling down the street, minding my own business, looking for other hookers. All of a sudden, this car pulls up to me with her and all of her deaf family in it, and they're all yelling at me, not real words. They're just yelling noises at me, and I'll tell you what, it scared the fuck out of me because it looked like, a car full of, cabin in the woods people or, deliverance people. And I mean, because they're all, related and they're all deaf, and I'm sure they all have sex with each other. But anyway.
Oh my God. Hey, since we're kind of recapping, because we've actually told these stories, but having you tell the actual stuff is great. Okay, Big Steve, I told the story of, remember when Robert, it was me and Robert were near.
Wait a minute. A train.
Huh?
You and I are on the same level. I was just getting ready to go there.
Okay.
Perfect.
Do you remember when Robert picked up the male midget hustler?
Yeah.
Okay.
He picks him up, and so Robert he gets a pop. We arrest the guy. We are talking to him, and Robert tells us that the midget guy jumps in Robert's car, and Robert goes, "I want to fuck you in the ass." And the midget's going, "I'm afraid I'm not a bitch. I am going to fuck you in the ass, and then you're going to give me head."
Do you remember when we locked him up, how upset that little guy was?
Yes.
He was so mad. Now, here's the funniest part, though. Do you remember, it was a few days after that, we had all gone to dinner, and you were driving, Robert's in the front passenger seat, and we see that guy right by the stop sign. Yeah, and you rolled up and got as close to him as you could, and you rolled Robert's window down.
And the whole time he's looking at me going, "Fuck you, Steve. Fuck you. Fuck you."
And they just looked at each other and they're like,
Hey, what's up? What's up?
that was hilarious.
Hey, Double S, tell them the time. I just remember this when you and Ray got robbed. You remember that?
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, that's not really funny.
Well, it's interesting. People are interested in what kind of dangers we had to face.
Well, yeah. I mean, we pick up this guy and he wants to sell us crack. So we go, okay. So we're driving. He has us pull down this street, and he's sitting in the back. Ray is not Ray. This Ray, another Ray, is driving, and I'm in the passenger seat. All of a sudden, there's a gun at my head,
Man.
and he's like, "Give me all the money." So I had like $140 or something like that. I reached for my pocket and gave it to him, and he goes to Ray. He goes, "You give me your money," and he didn't have any because he was just detailed to us. He goes, "I don't have any money," and he started getting madder and madder. And he started poking me in the head with the gun, and I'm sitting on my gun, and I'm like, okay, maybe he can't hit a target at 5 yards even, because he wouldn't keep his eyes on the front sights. I said, but I'm pretty sure with the muzzle against my head, he can probably hit it.
Yes.
So then he goes, "Get out of the car." And so we figure, oh, okay. So we got out of the car. I pulled my gun, and he takes off in our car. If I would have shot him, I would have shot him in the back. And so if I would have done that, I'd be welcoming people to Walmart at this point, because I would have been in big trouble. But then we're sitting there. We don't have our radios with us. We don't have cell phones were almost non-existent at that point. So shows you how long ago it was. And so I had my gun. I didn't have a shirt on.
Hey, that is the biggest crime.
Yeah. And so we had to walk up to somebody's house, bang on the door, and they look out the door, and there's this relatively tall, somewhat overweight guy with no shirt on.
Somewhat.
And was that you, A-Train?
I'm sorry.
Yes.
Okay.
I think someone said, "Hey, Meatloaf's here."
You don't. Oh, that's a story I could tell. But the lady who looks out the door goes, "If you don't get off my porch, call the police." I said, "Exactly. Call the police. Please call the police." And so everybody comes running, and we're looking for the guy. They find the car. They don't find the guy. And eventually they figure out who it is. And so because at first, Ken was the detective on it, and he showed us, a bunch of pictures of guys, and I was like, "Fuck, I don't know if I can actually identify the guy," until he had something with the guy's picture, and I go, "Okay, yeah, that's it." And then he ended up doing quite a bit of time for doing that. And then most satisfying, of course, is when he got out. He was out maybe 3 or 4 weeks, and he jumped off of the bridge at Eagle Creek and drowned and died.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Happy.
You think maybe he saw you with your shirt off and just couldn't live?
He couldn't get that out of his mind. He goes, I don't care if I go to hell. I've already been there. There's two sure ways of dying. See me with my shirt off, or actually have sex with her. Super. Speaking of no shirt on, Do you remember when we were working part time up at you know, wherever? What is that place? Is it Wolf now? Music Center.
Yes.
Yeah, and we were. It was during the Fish concert where pretty much anything goes. So of course Ernie was wearing his traditional work boots, cut off shorts with no shirt on, and this gigantically fat girl walks past him and went, "Oh, that's a good look." And all of us just started howling. And Ernie was, I'm sorry,
Super E.
Super E was very offended. He couldn't believe it.
Steve, we appreciate you. We hope to have you back. You got anything left to say?
No, I've had an excellent time reliving, and I'm sure that there are many more stories that we can either that actually happened or we'll pretend like they happened.
That's perfect. I mean, Steve's like the wacky neighbor on a sitcom who just shows up and just makes everybody laugh.
Yeah.
A-Train,
Shows up.
got anything?
Uh-huh. Thanks, Steve. Appreciate it.
Oh, you're welcome.
All right, A-Train, take us out.
Okay. See you guys. Bye.
Bye.